They never told you the truth. They never handed you the blueprint. You were lied to, trained to think small, taught to play it safe, conditioned to stay broke, to stay soft, to stay in your place. But I never accepted that. I never bought into their nonsense, because the truth is this: they don't want you rich. They don't want you powerful. They don't want you thinking like a boss. They want you obedient. And I don't do obedient, I do dominant. I do billionaire, I do boss. You see, I didn't come out of the womb owning skyscrapers. I wasn't born with the empire. I had to build it piece by piece, block by block. They talk about the $1 million loan. That was some golden ticket. Please. Most of these crybabies would have lost that money in 6 months, trying to look rich instead of become rich. I flipped it into billions. Why? Because I had the blueprint. I had the fire. I had the mind of a boss, even when my bank account didn't match yet. Let me tell you what they won't teach you in school. The real economy is rigged. It's rigged to keep you tired, busy, broke, and confused. Go to school, get a job, pay taxes, watch TV, retire broke. That's the plan. That's their blueprint, but not mine. Mine was bigger. Mine said own the building. Don't just rent the office. Mine said put your name on the deal, not just sign the bottom line. And I did it while they laughed, while they doubted, while they said Trump's too loud, Trump's too risky, yeah? Well, now Trump's too rich, too powerful, too unforgettable, because I didn't follow their rules. I built my own. Want to know the real secret from broke to boss? It's mindset first, then massive action. But not just any action. Intelligent, strategic, unapologetic execution. Every single day. When I was starting out, I wasn't thinking about surviving. I was thinking about legacy, dominance. I wasn't looking for a job. I was building the throne. And I knew early. No one was coming to hand it to me. I had to take it. I had to earn it. I had to carve it out of concrete with my bare hands. You want to talk about broke? Try waking up with billion-dollar loans breathing down your neck. Try having every newspaper calling you finished. Try watching fake friends vanish the second you hit turbulence. That's pressure. And you know what I did? I didn't panic. I didn't hide. I went to war. Because broke isn't about dollars, it's about direction. And I knew which way I was going. Up. Always up. Because a boss doesn't collapse. A boss recalculates, reinvents. And let me tell you something they never taught you. Broke is a phase, but boss, that's a decision. That's a standard. That's a level you choose and then protect with everything you've got. I chose it early. I walked like a boss before I had a building. I negotiated like a boss before I had leverage. I spoke like a boss before the world listened. And because I committed, because I believed when no one else did, the world caught up. It always does, but they don't want you to know that. They hide the moves. They teach you to fear risk, to chase safety, to worship stability. You know what stability is? Death in disguise. The graveyard is filled with people who played it safe, who followed the rules, who never broke out. You want to be a boss? Then break rules, not rules. Society's fake little limits. They're imaginary boxes. You've got to blow those boxes up and build a palace on top of the ash. That's what I did. I stepped into real estate when everyone told me it was too volatile. I said, good. I walked into television when people said, that's not for businessmen. I made it for businessmen. I stepped into politics and flipped the system on its head. Why? Because bosses don't ask for seats at the table. We take the table. We build a new one, and we sit at the head. I was broke once, but I was never small, never soft, never safe. Even when the money was tight, my moves were bold, because the blueprint was always there. It was in me. Now it's in you. If you're listening to this, if you feel that fire, that hunger, that anger, then it's time. Time to stop waiting. Time to stop playing broke. Time to become the boss. But let me be crystal clear. It's not about cars. It's not about watches. It's not about impressing people who don't matter. That's fake boss energy. That's weak. Being a boss means control. Control of your time, your money, your mind, your life. It means you decide, you lead, you take the risk, and then you own the reward. That's what I did. That's what I do. And I don't apologize for it. So if you're broke right now, good. That's fuel. That's energy. That's your wake-up call. But stay there, stay soft, stay scared, and then you'll never touch the throne. You'll never build the empire. You'll be one more person who talked big and died small. And I don't respect that. I respect hesitation. I respect execution. I respect fire. I respect the ones who rise from zero and say, watch me, because that's what I did. And I didn't do it with luck. I did it with war. I did it with strategy. I did it with obsession. And you can too. But first, you've got to stop thinking like a victim. You've got to stop acting like money's the problem. You're the problem. Your mindset, your habits, your circle, your excuses. Clean it up, burn it down, and start building broke to boss. Isn't a slogan. It's a lifestyle. It's a blueprint. And you're staring at it right now, so what are you going to do about it? They called me finished. That's what they do when you fall. They come in like vultures, circling, laughing, pretending they always knew it would happen. That's what I dealt with. In the early 90s, the real estate market collapsed, and suddenly I was billions in debt, not billions. And the press, they had a field day. Every headline screamed, Trump is broke. Trump's empire crumbles. They were celebrating my failure, but what they didn't know is I don't break, I bend, I adapt, I outlast. That was the moment the blueprint kicked in. When things are smooth, everybody looks like a genius, but when everything falls apart, that's when you find out who's real. And I was real. I had buildings on the line, massive debt, properties underperforming, and a name that for a moment everyone said was too loud, too risky, too bold. But I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I didn't run. I locked in. I walked into those boardrooms with my back against the wall and my chest out like a lion. The banks wanted to bleed me. They wanted to take my name, my buildings, my legacy. They wanted to erase me. But I didn't give them the satisfaction. I fought. I negotiated like my life depended on it, because it did. I said, you can take the buildings, or you can let me run them and bring them back to life. You don't know how to do it. I do. And they knew I was right, because even in my lowest moment, I had leverage, not cash, leverage. I had the name, the blueprint, the guts. I could have walked away, could have declared bankruptcy and blamed the market, but I didn't. I took the hits. I looked the disaster in the face and said, let's dance. That's what bosses do. They don't beg. They don't disappear. They dominate. Even when the scoreboard says they're losing. Even when every so-called expert says it's over. And believe me, they said it every day. I remember being in my office, flipping through newspapers filled with attacks, lies, half-truths, people I fed suddenly taking shots, journalists I gave access to writing my obituary. And I didn't respond. I let them talk, because while they were writing, I was rebuilding. That's the real game. You don't fight with noise. You fight it with results, with movement, with undeniable wins. And they came, slowly at first, but they came. I restructured everything, cut what didn't matter, doubled down on the buildings that did. I picked up 40 Wall Street for a fraction of what it was worth. Nobody wanted it. Perfect. I took it, I rebuilt it, I filled it, turned it into a cash machine. That deal alone silenced a lot of people, because they saw it. He's not done, he's just getting started. That's what most people don't get. When you're broke, when you're bleeding, that's not the end, that's the beginning. That's where the blueprint starts showing its power. I didn't bounce back by luck, I bounced back because I moved. Fast, smart, relentless. I didn't wait for the market to recover. I recovered while the market was asleep. And when it came back, I was already 10 moves ahead. You've got to understand something. I wasn't just rebuilding money. I was rebuilding trust with lenders, with buyers, with the public. And that's a different level of pressure. Most people fold under it. I used it. I weaponized it. Every deal I made was proof. Every project that worked was a headline I didn't even have to write. They wrote it for me. Trump's back. That's what they said. And they were right, but I wasn't just back. I was better, sharper, hungrier. They still throw shade at that era. They say he almost went bankrupt. Let me tell you something, almost doesn't count. I didn't, I came close, yes, but I never lost it all. I held the line, I fought the storm, and I learned more from that failure than from any win I ever had. That's what they don't tell you. The comeback teaches you everything. The losses, the panic, the betrayal, it all sharpens you. I saw who was real, I saw who folded, I saw what parts of my business were built on sand and what was built on stone. And I fixed it. I made the foundation unshakable. The second empire I built, 10 times more lethal than the first. And that's what the blueprint is really about, not just surviving failure, but using it, turning it into fuel. That's what I did. That's why I'm still here, still building, still winning. Most people can't handle embarrassment. That's the truth. They fall once and they hide. They worry about what people will say. Me? I put my failure on display. I let the world see it. I let them mock, and then I made them eat it, because every critic who counted me out had to sit back and watch the comeback happen in real time. That's the best revenge. Not tweets, not rants, success. Apprentice, that wasn't just a TV show. That was the final stamp on the comeback. I used it to remind people Trump builds, Trump leads, Trump wins. And suddenly the same people who are laughing at me were watching me every week, trying to figure out how I do it. That's the blueprint right there. You fail publicly, you rise publicly. You silence the noise by being undeniable. So if you're broke right now, if you're buried in problems, good. That means you've got an opportunity, an opening, a reason to burn the boats and go all in. That's what I did, and it changed everything. The comeback wasn't just about saving face. It was about taking power, taking control. And that starts the second you stop crying and start building. I've been broke, I've been hated, I've been buried, and have come back bigger every single time. Because I don't make excuses, I make comebacks. And if you're serious about becoming a boss, you'll do the same. Let's be crystal clear. Broke starts in the mind. It doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in how you think. I've seen guys with $10 and a billionaire mindset. I've seen guys with 10 million and a broke mentality. And guess what? The guy with the billionaire mind wins in the end, always. Because mindset is the seed, it's the engine. If your thinking is weak, your results will be weaker. That's the truth. You can cry about it or you can fix it. When I was billions in debt, when the media was ripping me to pieces, when so-called experts were writing my business obituary, I still walked into every room like I owned it. Because mentally I did. They had no idea. They thought I was finished. But I already decided I wasn't. And that decision, that belief, is what turned the whole thing around. Before I flipped the numbers, I flipped my thinking. I said, I'm not broke. I'm temporarily misunderstood. But I'm still the boss. And once you think like that, the world starts bending back in your favor. See, average people think success is about luck or timing or connections. Please, that's what losers tell themselves to sleep better at night. The truth is, success is mindset. It's belief backed by execution. I believed I was the best. Not later, right now. Even when I was losing. Especially when I was losing, because that's when belief matters most. When your back's against the wall, when your back's against you, that's when the champions separate from the quitters. That's when you double down on your identity. I never said, I hope I make it. I said, I will win, or I'll die swinging. You want to know why most people stay broke forever? Because they think like renters. I thought like an owner, a king. From day one. I'd say, let me try to survive. I said, let me figure out how to dominate. That changes everything. When you think like a boss, your energy changes, your voice changes, your posture changes, and people feel it. They treat you differently. They start believing what you already believe, that you are inevitable. You've got to rewire how you see yourself right now, because if you still think like a loser, you'll keep losing. If you think small, you'll stay small. It's not the world's fault, it's your programming. And guess what? You can reprogram it. But only if you stop coddling your brain and start challenging it. That's what I did. I challenged my thinking every day. I studied winners. I dissected power. I learned how to operate like a machine. And once I did, I became one. Let me be clear. This isn't about being positive. I'm not a cheerleader. I'm a war general. I don't walk around saying nice things to myself. I say necessary things. I say, you're behind, catch up. I say, you're lost, fix it. I say, this isn't enough, build more. That's mindset. That's power. That's how you turn broken deals into billion-dollar properties. That's how you turn negative press into free marketing. That's how you turn setbacks into stories they'll study for decades. Most people are emotional wrecks. One little loss and they collapse. One bad comment online and they're crying in a corner. Pathetic. That's not a boss. It's a baby. Bosses are stable, calm, deadly. They don't need approval. They need movement. They don't live for comfort, they live for results. You want to win, then control your emotions. Own your thoughts, become unshakable. That's what I did, and that's why I win when others drowned. You need to stop outsourcing your belief. You don't need your parents to believe in you. You don't need your friends to understand you. You don't need your partner to clap every time you try something. You need to believe in you, period. I've had deals that everyone laughed at until they worked. I've had visions that nobody understood until they became monuments. You don't need them to get it. You just need to get after it. Mental toughness is a choice. It's not given, it's built. In the dark, when you're broke, when you're scared, when nothing's working, that's where the mental muscle gets made. I built mine in silence while they laughed, while they celebrated my failure, while they predicted my end. I sat there, sharpening the sword, getting clearer, getting colder, getting hungrier. And then I struck, and you can do the same. But you've got to decide right now, decide to kill the broke mindset, kill the excuses, kill the fear, replace it with focus, fire, execution. The world will always doubt you until you become undeniable. And that starts inside your head. If you're scared of criticism, stay broke. If you need hand-holding, stay broke. If you crumble under pressure, stay broke. This isn't for the soft. This is for the hungry, the obsessed, the ones who know they're supposed to lead, not follow, who know they're supposed to build, not beg. If that's you, then wake up. This is your blueprint. This is the call. Stop thinking like a spectator. Start thinking like the main event. You've got to understand, this world isn't waiting for you to get ready. It's not going to pause while you figure it out. Every second you sit in doubt, someone else is taking the shot you hesitated on. Someone else is building the brand, buying the land, taking the meeting. The world doesn't slow down for anyone. You either step into it with force or you get crushed by it. That's why mindset is everything. Without it, you're just another bystander, another spectator with a front row seat to someone else's success. You want to know what else separates winners? They don't need constant praise. They don't need constant hand-holding. Most of you want success delivered like a pizza, hot, easy, and on demand. But real power, that comes from grinding in silence, from showing up when no one's watching, from getting the work done without the applause. I didn't build Trump Tower on likes. I built it on relentless work, ruthless standards, and unbreakable focus. That's the blueprint, and doesn't care how you feel, it only cares what you finish. You've got to develop a new voice in your head, one that doesn't give you outs, one that doesn't entertain weakness, one that says no matter what, we win. I developed that voice. I built it brick by brick, and it got louder every time I didn't quit, every time I kept going, every time I faced pressure and said, this won't break me, this will build me. That voice, that's your edge, that's your advantage. And if you don't have it yet, build it. And don't be surprised when people start pulling away, when they say you've changed, when they say you're too intense. Good, let them go. You don't need more friends. You need more fire. You need to start protecting your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Energy's everything. The people around you, the content you consume, the environment you sit in, it's shaping your mind. And if you want to build an empire, you can't think like a tenant, you've got to think like a king. You want to go from broke to boss, you've got to upgrade the software in your skull. You've got to kill the habits that keep you broke. Stop hitting snooze, stop gossiping, stop scrolling, stop consuming content that makes you feel good but leaves you empty. And start feeding your mind like your future depends on it. Because it does. I read more than people realize. I study more than they expect. I listen, but I don't follow. I absorb, but I act. As mindset, that's power. You've got to develop discipline so strong people think you're crazy. You skip the party, you say no to comfort, you lock in when everyone else checks out. That's what I did, still do. Even with everything I've built, the name, the brand, the towers, I still show up with that same fire I had when I had nothing. Why? Because I'm not done. Because this isn't about money, it's about domination. It's about proving over and over that I build. And here's the final truth. The world is watching every day. They're waiting for you to fold, to quit, to shrink. That's why your mindset can't be fragile. It has to be forged. It has to be unshakable. Because when you finally break through, when you finally win, those same people will say, I always knew you'd make it. Don't forget them. Don't let them back in. Keep your circle tight, your goals loud, and your work louder. So here's your moment. You've heard the fire. You've felt the shift. Now it's on you. You either walk forward and think like the boss you were born to be, or you go back to the broke mindset they handed you. But once you decide, don't ever look back. You weren't born to be average. You were born to take over.